Most people believe that a relationship ends with a scream, a door slammed, a plate shattered, an explosion of built-up resentment. But they are wrong. The most devastating endings are silent. It is the moment a man realizes that he has become a ghost in his own home. He gave her everything. He gave her his loyalty when the world turned its back. He gave her his strength when she was weak. He gave her his silence when she was loud. And in return, he received the most painful currency known to man, indifference. You see, she didn't hate him. She just stopped seeing him. She took his presence as a law of nature, like the sun rising or the air she breathed. Reliable, constant, and because it was constant, it became worthless in her eyes. But Stoicism teaches us a hard truth. Everything has a price, and the price of unappreciated devotion is eventually absence. Today, we are going to explore the anatomy of the Stoic departure. We aren't talking about revenge. We aren't talking about ghosting to get a reaction. We are talking about the moment a man reclaims his soul from a place where it is no longer welcome. We're talking about why he left, why she only cared once the chair is empty, and how you can apply the inner citadel of Marcus Aurelius to ensure you never lose yourself in another person again. Before we dive into the depths of this narrative, if you are a man seeking to build an unbreakable mind and command the respect you deserve, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You are here because you refuse to be average. Let's begin. Section 1. The illusion of giving everything. Let's look at the man in our story. He followed the script. He was a good man. He thought that if he just gave a little more, if he worked an extra hour to buy that gift, if he listened to her problems 1,000 times without complaining, that eventually the appreciation switch would flip in her mind. But Epictetus, the former slave turned philosopher, would have warned him. No man is free who is not master of himself. By giving everything in hopes of receiving appreciation, this man wasn't being virtuous. He was being a gambler. He was betting his happiness on a variable he could not control, her internal state. In Stoicism, we categorize things into two boxes, what we control and what we do not. You control your effort, your loyalty, your boundaries. You do not control how she feels about that effort. The moment you give everything to someone who doesn't value it, you have moved your happiness into the second box. You have handed her the keys to your inner citadel and prayed she doesn't burn it down. The tragedy of this man wasn't that he was too nice. It was that he lacked the Stoic boundary. He mistook self-sacrifice for strength. Seneca once said, "He is a king who fears nothing. He is a king who desires nothing." By desiring her validation, he became a subject. He became a servant to a queen who didn't even know she was wearing a crown. Section 2. The turning point, amorphous fate. Appreciation is like oxygen. You don't notice it until it's gone. For months, he felt a slow erosion. He noticed how his stories were cut short. He noticed how his achievements were met with a "that's nice" before she moved on to her own day. He felt the weight of being the only one holding the rope. Then came the realization, the Stoic epiphany. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Being a good man includes having the self-respect to recognize when a soil is no longer fertile. You can pour water on a rock for 100 years, and a flower will never grow. Is it the water's fault? No. Is it the rock's fault? No. It is the fault of the man who keeps pouring. He realized that by staying, he was actually participating in his own destruction. He wasn't fighting for the relationship. He was fighting against reality. And the Stoic's first duty is to see the world as it is, not as he wishes it to be. The anatomy of a departure. A step-by-step breakdown of how a Stoic leaves. No drama, no long letters, just a removal of presence. The psychology of the void. Why our brain finally triggers appreciation only when the utility of the man is gone. Linking this to the Stoic concept of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils/loss. The ghost period. How he handles the initial weeks of loneliness using Seneca's letters on grief and solitude. The return attempt. When she realizes what she lost and tries to come back. This is where we discuss the Stoic virtue of justice. Is it just a return to a cycle of disrespect? The new man, how he rebuilds himself, focusing on eudaimonia, flourishing, rather than just getting over her. Part 2, the anatomy of the departure. Section 3, the death of hope as a virtue. In our modern world, we are taught that hope is always a good thing. We are told to hope for the best, to hope she changes, to hope that tomorrow she will finally see the man standing right in front of her. But for the Stoic, hope can be a dangerous poison. Seneca famously said, "Cease to hope, and you will cease to fear." Why? Because hope is a tether that keeps you tied to a sinking ship. Our protagonist finally stopped hoping. He stopped waiting for a thank you. That was never going to come. He accepted the cold, hard reality. She did not value him. This isn't a moment of bitterness. It is a moment of clarity. When he stopped hoping for her appreciation, he stopped fearing her disapproval. He realized that his giving everything had become a form of manipulation. He was trying to buy her love with his service. Stoicism demanded he stop. It demanded he return to himself. He didn't leave because he hated her. He left because he finally loved himself enough to stop being an invisible man. He understood that staying in a place where you are not seen is a form of self-erasure. And as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. He would not be indifferent to himself just because she was. Section 4, the quiet exit. Watch how the Stoic leaves. There is no final talk that lasts 6 hours. There are no frantic text messages explaining his pain. There is no attempt to make her understand. Why? Because if she didn't understand his value during his presence, she certainly won't understand it during a lecture. He understands the concept of the power of a void. When you have given someone everything, your presence becomes white noise. You are the furniture. You are the background music. To make her see him again, he had to remove the stimuli. He had to create a vacuum. Epictetus taught that we should use our faculty of choice with courage. The man chose to withdraw his energy. He didn't do it to win a game. He did it because his energy was his most precious resource, and it was being wasted on a void. He walked out the door not with a bang, but with a click, and in that silence, the atmosphere of the house changed forever. The oxygen of his support, his protection, and his warmth was gone, and for the first time in years, the air she breathed began to grow thin. Section 5, the philosophy of the void, why she only cares now. Now we see the shift. For days, she felt a sense of freedom, but then reality began to set in. The trash didn't empty itself. The car wasn't washed. The emotional anchor she leaned on during her bad days at work was no longer there to catch her. This is what Stoics call the false impression. She had the impression that she was independent. She had the impression that his contributions were easy or automatic. She is now experiencing a forced lesson in premeditation malorum, the meditation on loss. Except for her, it isn't meditation. It's a reality. She is realizing that she didn't just lose a man, she lost a foundation. Stoicism warns us to value what we have while we have it. She failed that test. And now, the very thing she took for granted has become the only thing she desires. But desire, as the Stoics know, is often just a reaction to lack. It isn't love. It's the pain of a missing utility. Are you currently the man giving everything and receiving nothing? Are you pouring your life into a vessel that has a hole in the bottom? If you need the strength to walk away and rebuild, you need to be part of this community. Join the thousands of men on the path to self-mastery. Subscribe to Stoic Power now. Your future self is counting on you. Part 3, the ghost period and the reclamation. Section 6, the withdrawal symptoms of the soul. Leaving is the easy part. Staying gone is the battle. For the first few weeks, our protagonist felt the stoic withdrawal. You see, even when a relationship is one-sided, it becomes a habit. His brain was wired to care for her. He was addicted to the hope of her eventually seeing him. Now, in the silence of his new life, the shadows began to speak. His mind whispered, maybe you were too harsh. Maybe if you tried one more time, she would get it. Maybe she's changed in these 2 weeks. This is what Marcus Aurelius called the puppetry of the senses. Our emotions pull our strings like a marionette. If you are not careful, Your feelings will lead you right back into the fire that burned you. The man had to apply the principle of objective representation. When he missed her, he didn't allow himself to remember the dream version of her. He didn't look at the old photos where she was smiling. Instead, he stripped the memories of their emotion. He didn't think, I miss her touch. He thought, I miss a chemical reaction in my brain that I am currently attributing to a person who did not respect me. He didn't think, she must be hurting. He thought, she is experiencing the natural consequence of her own actions. To interfere with her pain is to rob her of her growth. He used a view from above. He imagined his life as a tiny dot on a map. He saw his struggle not as a tragedy, but as a standard human experience that has been felt by millions of men for thousands of years. By making his problem small, he made his strength large. Section 7. The moment of the first text. Then it happened. The vacuum he created finally pulled her in. The first message wasn't an apology. It was a probe. I miss you. Can we talk? Most men fail here. They see this as a victory. They think, finally, she sees my value. And they rush back. But the Stoic knows better. He asked himself a question inspired by Epictetus. Is this message born a change in her character or a change in her comfort? She didn't miss him. She missed the everything he gave her. She missed the security, the attention, and the ego boost of having a man she could ignore. She was a person who only valued the water once the well was dry. If he went back now, he would be teaching her a dangerous lesson. That she can treat him like a shadow for years, and all it takes to bring him back is a 4-word text message. He realized that justice, one of the 4 Stoic virtues, applied to himself as well. It would be an act of injustice against his own soul to return to a place where he was diminished. He didn't reply, not out of malice, not to be alpha, but because he was busy building a life where his peace didn't depend on her phone screen. Section 8. Rebuilding the inner citadel. While she was mourning the loss of her provider, he was celebrating the birth of his self. He began the process of eudaimonia, human flourishing. He took all the energy he used to pour into her, the hours of listening, the emotional labor, the constant worrying, and he turned that fire inward. He discovered that when a man stops trying to save a woman who doesn't want to be saved, he suddenly has the power to save a kingdom. He began to follow the daily Stoic audit. Morning. What virtues will I practice today? Courage, temperance, wisdom. Noon. Am I being pulled by my passions or guided by my reason? Evening. Where did I falter? Where did I stay strong? He became the rock. Not a cold rock, but a solid one. He realized that a man's value isn't something to be appreciated by another. It is something to be owned by himself. By the time the second and third messages came, the ones filled with tears and promises of change, they were reaching out to a man who no longer existed. The ghost had moved on. The man who gave her everything had died, and in his place was a man who gave himself exactly what he needed: respect. The world will tell you to fight for love. Stoicism tells you to fight for your character. If you are tired of being the ghost in your own life, it's time to wake up. Comment below with the word citadel. If you are committing today to never let your value be dictated by someone else's blindness. We are building a brotherhood of Stoic power. Don't be left behind. Part 4. The final test in the untouchable soul. Section 9. The meeting after months of silence. He agreed to one meeting, not because he needed closure. He had already given that to himself, but to witness the final death of the version of him that used to live for her. Stoicism is often misunderstood as being emotionless. It isn't. It is the ability to feel the emotion and then look at it as if it were a strange insect under a microscope. As she sat down and began to pour out her heart, the apologies, I didn't know what I had, that I've changed. The man performed the Stoic exercise of premeditated indifference. He didn't see a woman he loved. He saw a human being in error. Epictetus taught us that when someone harms us or fails to value us, they are simply acting on their own incorrect view of the world. They are blind, not evil. Because he saw her blindness clearly, he felt no anger. But he also felt no pull. The fire had gone out because he had stopped providing the oxygen of his devotion. Her tears, which once would have sent him into a panic of service, now felt like rain on a stone statue. He was present, but he was elsewhere. He had achieved what Seneca described as the invincible mind, a mind that can no longer be reached by the weapons of others. Section 10. The Choice of the King. When she finally asked, "Can we try again?" the man didn't hesitate. He didn't say no with a snarl. He said it with a smile that carried the weight of 1,000 miles. He told her, "I am not the man who left you." That man died the moment he realized his peace was worth more than your approval. This is the ultimate Stoic victory. It is the moment you realize that some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They are meant to be burned so that you can never go back to the version of yourself that lived in a cage. He applied the virtue of temperance. He didn't overindulge in the satisfaction of rejecting her. He simply acknowledged that their paths were no longer parallel. He got up, paid for his coffee, and walked away. He didn't look back to see if she was watching. The Stoic does not look back at the rubble. He looks forward at the horizon. Section 11. 1 year later. The fruits of eudaimonia. Fast forward 1 year. The woman is still trapped in the logic of loss. She spends her nights analyzing what she did wrong, scrolling through his now successful life on social media, looking for a way back in. She is a slave to her regret. The man, he rarely thinks of her at all. He has realized the profound truth of amor fati, to love one's fate. He doesn't just accept that she didn't appreciate him. He loves that she didn't. Why? Because her lack of appreciation was a catalyst for his greatest transformation. If she had been just good enough, he would still be that average man, giving his life away for crumbs of affection. Her indifference was a gift of fire that forged him into a king. He has built his inner citadel. He is now untouchable. Not because he is isolated, but because he is grounded in the only thing that cannot be taken away, his own character. Conclusion. The call to the modern Stoic. If you are listening to this and you feel like the invisible man, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Stop thinking about how to make her appreciate you. Start thinking about how to appreciate the man you are becoming. You gave her everything? Good. Now, take that everything back and give it to the only person who will never leave you. This is the path of Stoic power. If you have watched until this final moment, you are among the 1% who truly seek mastery. If this video changed your perspective, share it with one brother who is currently suffering in silence. Let's grow this citadel together. Until next time, stay powerful, stay stoic,